Hello, welcome to Productions MJC. My name is Mark.
Hello, a shout out to Greater Sapien. I've been watching some of his videos and enjoying his common sense questions. What I want to talk about is I've had basically 3 or 4 people. I always get those ones that just hang on and keep debating, and then all of a sudden they go totally quiet and they won't answer any more of my questions. When my questions just seem to pound them with logic and truth and reality. Well, and I mean, I've had respectful people. Why are they using that symbol? Because that's the only way time zones can work on a flat earth. I've had obnoxious people that just keep bugging me. And I've had a couple that are just vile. Just absolutely vile. Well, when I was looking into this, the respectful people, like Flat Earth, Portugal, Terra Plana, just means Flat Earth, Portugal, Flat Earth, right? Anyway, he comes back and he talks about my cognitive dissonance. Mine. Here's a person who, every time I ask a question, asks another question. Never answers mine. Just every time I say, okay, I'll answer. See, I answer his questions. I say, okay, this is it. And in return, I have this question. Poof, he throws another one out. Never answers mine, you know. And see, the weird thing about flat earthers is they think a question is a proof. For them. Let me reiterate. For them, questions are proof of flat earth. Not questions of globe earthers, you know. No. See, he asks, if the earth is a sphere, why does NASA have to fake it? To him, that is a proof of flat earth. It's nothing of the kind. It's not a proof of anything. It's a question of doubt of something. But they don't understand the difference when they're asking the question. So you look here and now this is what's funny. If he weighs the so-called proofs presented by Ball Earth defenders against the so-called proofs presented by Flat Earth defenders, the proofs presented by the latter, meaning Flat Earth, are much easier to explain. They're really easy to explain in his mind, which is total cognitive dissonance. I mean, some of them get really super convoluted. Like, they're like the summer solstice, when the sun rises directly due east for everybody on Earth. You know, except for people that might be stationed at the North and South Pole. But for everybody else, between the Arctic circles, North and South, it rises perfectly due east. And it can't do that on his flat Earth model. But to him, nothing. You know, that crickets. He won't tell you jack. So, this is about the silence you get from flat earthers. This is about the non-answers and just the total deafening silence when you ask a reasonable question. And what is his evidence of NASA faking it? What I think I'll do, I'm going to present you with a picture and ask you if it's fake or real. And you tell me. Well, you know, in the comments you put what you think, if it's fake or real.
He asks questions about Hubble, the International Space Station.
But he is cordial. I mean, totally off base, but cordial about it. Then, you know, and I've answered this question. And I just stated, you know, there are certain things that everybody in the United States of America that's attended debate class in high school understands. Now, I myself didn't have debate. in high school. The debate coach was our history teacher, and maybe some of it rubbed off as he would bring information to us and teach us. But there are three things, and it's called R, A-R-E, assertion, reasoning, evidence. Flat Earth believers make assertions all the time. Occasionally, on rare occasions, you may get some sort of circular reasoning. So you get a reasoning of some sort, but not much. And you never get evidence. Their evidence is another question. You know, they don't understand what it all means. But at least he's cordial about it. We have George here. This is if the Earth is spinning 1,000 miles per hour counterclockwise, then all the winds, currents, will be going in the same direction extremely fast. Okay, to him that's proof. To him that's A-R-E. It's not. It's an assertion. Question is an assertion. There's some sort of reasoning kind of behind it, but there's no evidence of what he's saying. Because the evidence is in, for instance, the turbines created by Tesla demonstrate a boundary layer effect that was theorized by another scientist and then shown to be, and it's the theory of boundary layer. Oh, that's another thing. Flat earthers do not understand that theory doesn't mean just a flat out guess. It doesn't mean just somebody's hunch. Scientific theory is even above hypothesis. Hypothesis is sort of a formalized guess, but theory, scientific theory, they don't understand simple words. Theory does not mean just a blind guess or a best guess or just a hunch. But that's what they equate the word to kind of demean it in their eyes, to kind of marginalize it and minimize it. Because they can't take the word on simply how it is, how it's used. Speaking of this spinning Earth, I'm going to show you an example. I'm going to mix a couple of these together. George's question and one from just somebody who's absolutely vile. This is Rockets Push Off Air. Swears. I haven't heard anything from him because I finally just put him in his place. But I want to show you this particular statement from him from a couple of weeks ago, where he makes fun of the globers and such. He says that the sun and Earth interact like a giant hammer throw. The Earth moves around the sun like some sort of giant hammer throw, spinning and tilted. He makes fun of that. How does he make fun of that in other ways? Well, the fact that he says that a cast iron flywheel will break apart at Earth's RPM. RPM for Earth is one revolution per day. But per minute, it's even less. But we go into a debate about what RPM and what he's technically talking about is the angular velocity of the Earth's surface is 1,000 miles an hour, just like George was saying, 1,000 miles an hour. And Rockets goes off on the Rocket Man talks about things shatter when they approach 1,000 miles an hour. And he says, he goes into certain examples like the blades on a vacuum cleaner only go 600 miles an hour at the outer tip, stuff like that. And he was just going on swearing at me, calling me an idiot, and I gave him examples of, he was talking about other things, and I gave him an example. If you're inside of a bullet train going 185 miles an hour and you throw a paper airplane, to the outside observer, that airplane is going 190 miles an hour. If you're throwing it towards the front of the train and it's moving along with the train, it actually appears to be faster than the train. But actually inside, since it's only moving 10 miles an hour through the air, or 5 miles an hour, or whatever it's doing, if you throw it backwards towards the back of the train, then the airplane appears to be flying backwards at 180 miles an hour. You know, similarly, if you toss a golf ball up in the front of a bullet train going at 185, does it kill somebody behind you? That's for George, really. And I've talked to George about that, and he said the winds are going along, but I'm going to show you that. Well, good old Rocket says, you are so stupid. That's linear motion. I'm talking about circular motion. Circular motion, blah, 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 blah. And I gave him the example, two, actually. One is my favorite airplane of all time, the SR-71. And I gave him the example of the J-58 Pratt & Whitneys that are 4 feet in diameter. So the engine, well, let me show you that. Here we go. So I give him the example of my favorite airplane, SR-71, the J-58, 2-foot radius, 4-foot diameter engine, traveling at 10,000 RPM. Okay? And so what do we get? 638. Well, that's meters per second. Wait 1 sec. Wait. Let's convert that to miles an hour. Okay? Let's erase this. Here we go. Oop! Uh-oh! 1,427 miles per hour. That's faster than the Earth. Okay? That's slow. Let's show you what a 1-foot radius, 18,000 RPM Honda Formula One racer engine does. This is the outer edge of the flywheel. Here we go. 1285. Okay? But like I said, that's slower because this motor, that's what they ran it in a race. But that motor actually redlines at 21,000 RPM. They tested it. No engine blew up and killed people. That's the maximum recommended speed. That's the red line. Now, you know that people push these things past the red line, you know, as they go here and there. But let's calculate that. Let's calculate what that speed is. Okay? Calculating that speed, we get 1,499. So basically 1,500 miles an hour. So it exceeds the outer edge speed of the Earth by 50%. You know, after I showed Mr. Rocket Man this, I've never heard from him again. Gee, I wonder why. But let's go back to some of his other examples. And I didn't realize this until later on. But what's funny is flat earthers debunk themselves. Let's go into, well, first let's get to this 1,000-mile-an-hour thing. Let's show you a website for looking at the Earth's wind motion. Let's do that. Now, George talks about the wind as if it always goes in one direction only, because I guess he's in North America and he's talking about the jet stream. But there's a jet stream in the opposite direction down there across South America. But of course, you know, people see things from their own vantage point, and as he looks at these things and sees all this junk, what is he seeing? You know, who knows? This is looking down on top, but it's not a flat earth projection, it's just a globe. Well, people see things from their own vantage point, their own view, and looking at this, he sees the North America flow. He doesn't even see the South America flow. Pays no attention to it at all. Now, we've all seen pictures of the supposed wind patterns on a flat Earth. But there's a couple of things that are missing. Bow shock or bow shock. As we see these patterns of wind and water, why don't we see
Any evidence of bow shock?
the compression of air flying along in front of an object? So why don't we see bow shock of the sun? Why don't we see the trailing vortices of the sun? Now, there are many examples of airplanes going through clouds and leaving a vortice, a trailing vortice as they go through it. Well, so we have the absence of a bow shock, we have the absence of a trailing vortice. But big deal. I mean, how fast could the sun be going? I mean, flat out, how fast could the sun actually be traveling? A flatter sun has clouds behind it? Well, how fast can the sun actually be traveling? Well, here's the I've studied the flat Earth suggestions. They suggest that the diameter of the Earth, of their flat Earth, across from ice wall to ice wall is 25,020 miles. Well, let's go back to here. The radius in miles. Well, what is the radius? Is it 12,510? No. That's only the radius from the North Pole to the ice wall, according to flat Earth believers. Take half of that, and you get the equator. So 6,255 miles. What is the RPM? That's easy. 15 degrees per hour. Right? If it takes the Earth 24 hours to spin 360 degrees, it's 15 degrees per hour is the rotational velocity of the Earth. Okay? And the sun, supposedly traveling its path over the equator, takes the exact same amount of time. Talk about a in-your-face... Flat Earthers debunk their own stuff. He's making fun of the Earth traveling around the sun being some giant hammer throw, some giant, some big ball on a string being swung around the sun. The Earth is his analogy. Do you know what the speed of the Earth, the speed of the sun, as it supposedly travels over a flat Earth is? I've never really had anybody ask that question that I know of, and in the comments, correct me if I'm wrong. I have been before, but I haven't really seen anybody address it. What is the actual physical speed of the alleged flat Earth circling sun in the atmosphere? 1,637 and a half miles per hour, even faster than the flywheel on a Honda F1 at Redline. Now, and that's not even the fastest. We didn't calculate in, did you get it? The Tropic of Capricorn. So we have to add to this. I did the maths, and it ended up to be about 7,860 miles or something like that. But let's go with 50. Okay? Because it's 23 degrees farther south than the equator. So it's farther away from the North Pole on a flat Earth. So what is that speed What do you think it is? It's whisper close to Mach 3. Isn't it? Here we go. What is the speed of Mach 3? 23. So, let's get out a calculator. I want a standard calculator. Okay, let's try this. 2055 divided by 2, 3. What was the speed again? 2301. Okay. 1. So we're going 89% of Mach 3. And there's my Mach 3 Blackbird. Okay. Mach 1. 767. Okay. Calculator. 2055 divided by 767.3. Okay, 2 2/3 Mach. So here's Mr. Rockets Push Off Air making fun. Here's George asking a question. But they don't take into account that they're circling sun. Inside the atmosphere, remember, inside the firmament, is moving at 2 2/3 Mach. 2 2/3. What is the biggest thing that's missing? Let me give you a hint. Boom. If you have something traveling over 2.5 times the speed of sound
Through the atmosphere.
where's the sonic boom? And that ends this lesson for the day. Because there is your flat earth silence. No sonic boom, people. It's not happening.
Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. This has been Mark with Productions MJC.